Hi everyone, up next here at the catwalk we have Amy Hobson from SocialB who'll be talking to you about everything about, it's been changed, digital strategy. Please welcome Amy to the catwalk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, is it afternoon? No, it's not. It's morning still. It just feels like I've been up a really, really long time because of the travel, I think. But hello and welcome to Rethinking Your Digital Strategy. It's fantastic to see everybody. I know it's a really hot day and I know I'm sure you've got lots of other things that you'd rather be doing. But what I'm going to be talking to you about is rethinking your digital strategy or even thinking about it for the first time. So it might be that you are, it's something that you're fairly new to, or you've been doing it a while, but you're starting to lose sight of why you're actually doing some of the digital things that you're doing. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. So just to give you an introduction as to who we are. So you may have seen me before. I speak a lot for Hive at the Autumn Fair, Spring Fair. I wasn't at Glee, unfortunately, because I was on holiday, but my colleague was. So if you were at any of those events, Autumn Fairs, I'll be there in September as well. So you may have come across me before. But I am Amy Hobson. I'm a digital marketing trainer with SocialB. Now, as an organisation, we work with lots of different companies, from very small businesses, one-man bands, right the way up to multinationals. Some of the names that you're familiar with here, I'm sure. And of those names, I've worked with Superdry and Visa. We were in part of the Great British High Street campaign that they ran. What feels like decades ago, but it was actually just before COVID. So it's, as you can see, we work with lots of different businesses, lots of different kinds, because one of the things that I love about digital marketing is that the principles that we talk about and the principles that we can show you and the principles that we work to are the same no matter how big or how small you are or what it is that you do. And I'm going to be thinking particularly today and talking to you about strategy and why it's really important. So I'm going to give you some of the things to think about in terms of developing a successful and measurable strategy. So it's great if you've got one, but is it working for you? Is it getting you to where you need it to be? I'm also going to be thinking about audience targeting and the behaviours, and post-COVID, whether that's had an impact. I'm sure that you know that it has, in the way that we spend, the way that we learn, the way that we make decisions, how long it even takes us to make some of those decisions as well. So I'm going to be thinking about some of those things and some of the things you need to take into account in terms of your digital strategy. I'm also going to be talking about some of the different options that are available to you, because when we talk about digital, it isn't just one thing. Digital marketing and good digital marketing is a collection of different cogs and tools that are all working together. I always think about it like if you take the back off a clock, you see all of those cogs moving and working together, and they all do that. So it isn't just about SEO, isn't just about your website, isn't just about CRO or conversion rate optimization, it isn't just about social media. It's about how all of those things mix together, including obviously the importance as well of building your list, because your list is one of the few things that you own over and above anything else. You don't own your social media space, that's rented. You don't always own your website space as well, depending on who it is that you've built it with. But with your list and your email list, you do own that. And I'm also going to be touching on why measurement is more than just numbers. So it's very easy to fall into a pattern of measuring what we're doing, saying, great, I grew 10 followers this week, fantastic, moving on, 10 followers this week, 20 followers this week, and we just keep churning out those numbers and making a note, ticking the box in measurement. But actually, they're much more than that, and I'm going to touch on the reasons why for that as well. But the most important thing for you within your digital strategy is to always, always listen to your customer or target audience. One of the problems that we have in digital marketing is that businesses have a message. So whatever you're using it for, whether you're selling a service, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling the dream, whether you're selling a belief, it doesn't matter what you're selling something. And when you're selling that, it can be very easy to sit in a situation where you go, well, I need to talk about what it is that I do, so I'm going to do that. I have a message to deliver, and I'm going to use all of these different ways to deliver it. The problem with that is that we very often forget that our audience may not be ready to hear that message yet. So not everybody that you come into contact with will be ready to buy from you yet. Doesn't mean that they aren't your potential customers, but what it does mean is that they may just not be ready to hear that buy now message. And I'm sure, as you know, as buyers, if somebody keeps telling you to buy now and you're not ready, you just ignore it. And you don't want that to happen. You want this to be part of a journey, and the easiest way for you to do that is to listen to your audience. What do they tell you? What questions do they ask all of the time? What information do they need from you? Whereabouts are they in that journey for you to be able to do it? Now, one of the things to think about in terms of digital is to compare that to a real-life situation. So if you've got a bricks and mortar store and somebody comes in, they're a new customer, you don't recognise them, it's the first time you've seen them, what you're not going to do is pick up an item off your list or off your racking and go, buy this, I want you to buy this. Why won't you buy this? You're not going to do that in real life, so don't do it with your digital marketing either, because it doesn't work. In the same way as that person, sorry Lena, the same way as that person is just going to want to run out the door and get away from you as quickly as possible, you need to be thinking about, how can I build that relationship? Your best customers are the ones who you know when they come in the door. Yeah, because you know what they're looking for, you know the kinds of things that they like. They're the ones who you can message and say, I've got this dress in, you're going to love it. It's perfect for the wedding you're going to in September. Those are the ones that are the customers who will keep coming back to you, and they're the ones that you can build that relationship with. And you can do that on digital in the same way as you can in face-to-face. Because your consumers are the most effective consultants that your company can hire. It isn't about the products that you know they're going to buy, but the ones that they actually buy. Because those are the things, the way that you can combine products, the products that always sell alongside something else, the ones that you can always upsell to. It's learning from your customers, learning from your consumers, learning from your audience what it is that they need from you. Now, sometimes this can be looking at your physical data in terms of items sold or visits to your website, and other times it might be the things that are being responded well to on social media. But listening to those consumers is absolutely critical to your strategy. And always make sure that you stay front of mind. One of the problems that we have when we're busy business owners, and I'm sure this sounds fairly familiar, is that you're not only chief purchasing director, but you're managing director, you're finance director, you're making the tea, you're sweeping the floors, you're doing all of those things at the same time. And it can feel like you're constantly firefighting. What can therefore happen is that you dip in and out of digital marketing. So you'll have a splurge on your website when you have new products, and then you might not touch it for another few weeks because you've put them all on, you've ticked the box and you moved away. It might be on social media that when the shop's a little bit quiet or you haven't been as busy, you're messaging, but then you go on holiday for a couple of weeks and nobody does anything while you're gone. That doesn't help you to stay front of mind. It doesn't help the algorithms, it doesn't help the search engines, and it doesn't help your audience either. So making sure that you've got a nice regular flow of content both on your website, through your email list, and on your social media helps you to stay front of mind. I might not be ready to buy from you now, but I might be ready to buy from you in a few weeks' time or in a couple of weeks' time or after payday or whatever that is. So there's lots of different ways that you can do that, but it's important to always think, well, how can I stay front of mind? Now, normally that's conversation, and I'm going to come back to that shortly. So if you want to build a strategy, where do you start? And the first thing is to answer a really important question, and it's on there for you. What do you want to achieve with your digital marketing activity? So what are you doing it for? Now, you may be doing it for a number of different reasons. You may be to increase e-commerce, to increase footfall, to increase your email list. There may be a number of different reasons why you're doing it, but it's really important to be clear on that. The other thing that you also need to think about as well, it isn't on there, but it's an extra one for you, is what does good look like to me? And good will look different to everybody in this audience. Yeah, so what does good look like to you? If your email list was really working for you, what would it bring you? What would it do? If your website was doing exactly what you needed it to, what would that feel like? Same with social media. So understanding not just what it is that you want to achieve, but what it is that that actually feels like and what that would bring for you is really, really important. And then to decide what's your budget. Now, it might be that you've got a zero budget. Your budget is your time and nothing else. That's okay. It will probably take you longer, but it is still achievable. But what can you physically spend on it? And then deciding the best way to be able to spend that. So thinking about it strategically. And again, not just because somebody's told you you should, but understanding why that's important and why it's likely to work for you. And then what are your success metrics? So what are you going to measure? Yeah, what is it that you can put in place to make sure that you're actually measuring whether or not it's working for you? One of the biggest differences between online and offline is the ability to measure. So you can put an advert in the local paper, you know roughly how many houses it goes to. My ex-husband used to deliver papers when he was a young lad. Most of them went over the fence into the golf course, I'll be honest with you. So there's no guarantee that if it's a local paper, it always goes out to where it should. But you've also got no guarantee that when somebody's picked it up, they've actually read it. It might go straight in the recycling. With digital, you know how many people have watched your video. You know how many people's feed it should have hit. You know how many people have reacted positively to it. So those success metrics, what is success to you? What does good look like? Therefore, what do you need to measure? And then what is your unique offering or USP? So what is your unique selling point? What makes you different to everybody else? Is it that you offer a buying service? Is it that you offer an outfit guide? What is it that you do that brings you to the market? What is it that you can do differently? And if you're a small business, this is where you can really excel, because this is where you can really build relationships with your audience. And why us? So why should you? What's in it for me? If I'm one of your customers, why should I buy from you? So you need to understand why us over somebody else. And it's rarely price. I'm sure you've been told that a lot before, but it is rarely price. Price isn't always a barrier. Sometimes it is, admittedly, but normally actually it's much more than that. Think about John Lewis. We know John Lewis are expensive, but they still do really, really well. Yeah, they've even got rid of their price guarantee now because they can no longer do it on a website. But why you? Why should I buy from you? Why should I give you my hard-earned money rather than somebody else? And one of the things that I know without a shadow of a doubt at the moment is that we are thinking more about every pound that we spend. So why am I going to spend it with you and not somebody else? And then once you know what your overall objectives are, it's going to have an impact on these. One of the problems that we have as businesses is that we tend to go content first. I've got a message, I've got something I want to say, so we put out a piece of content to reflect that message. However, what we should really be doing is asking ourselves lots of questions first. Yeah, so who is it that I want to connect with? And if you don't know who it is, how can you write the right content for them? How can you write an email that appeals to your audience if you don't know who your audience are? Yeah, so bring that back round. It's always about your target audience or your customers. What content will you share? So if I know who you are, what is it that you need from me to make a decision to buy from me, or for me to help you along that journey? So what content is important to you, and how do you need it delivered? So is it going to be a video? Is it going to be an outfit of the day? Is it going to be an accessories? What is it that's really important? Yeah. So what is it, and how is it? Is it a blog? Is it a vlog? Is it a short video? Yeah. Is it content? Is it imagery? Is it a reel? What is it that's going to help me as part of that? And then how often you need to interact and how you want to influence people are very closely related. So if you want people to sign up to your email newsletter, it's a little bit of a drip feed, a little bit of a reminder every now and then. Newsletter available, sign up, get 10% off your first order, whatever that is, whatever incentive it is that you want to give people, whatever reason you're giving people to sign up. Yeah, so what is it? What is it that's going to drive them to do that? But if you tell them all the time to do that, they're not going to listen to you. So it needs to be that regular, every now and then, a little reminder, monthly newsletters available, have you signed up, sign up for. If, however, you've got a fashion event in store, you can't talk about it in the same way. You need to have a save the date. Then you need to build up a little bit of excitement, showcase some of the dresses, give people an exclusive preview, show behind the scenes as you've got your new items coming in, so that you build a little bit of anticipation for it, so that people really want to be there. You can't do that if you're building an email list. It doesn't work in the same way. So what it is that you're trying to achieve will have an influence. Now, one of the questions I get asked, probably more than anything else as a digital marketing trainer, is how often should I post, pin, tweet, snap, whatever that is. I wish I knew the magic formula, and I wish there was one that I could share with you, but unfortunately there isn't. It depends on your audience, it depends on what it is that you're trying to do, it depends on the platform, it depends on all manner of different things. What we do know, though, is it's regular and consistent. So regularity, regular posting, regular tweeting, regular pinning. If you commit to it, stay with it. Avoid the blanks. Blanks don't work either from your customer's point of view or from an algorithm's point of view. So if you're on social media and you have a quiet couple of weeks, you do loads of posting, then you're a little bit busy for a couple of weeks, you don't post, then the next Friday you get there and you think, oh, haven't posted all week, better get something on Instagram, I'll put something up now, or I'll just, oh yeah, I've got that photo, I'll just do that, that's it. And then the next week something takes you off your course again, so you only post once or twice. I'm sure that sounds familiar to some of you. Then that doesn't work, because the algorithm can't interpret a blank. So if it has blank days, if it has blank weeks, it's nothing, there's no data there for it. Yeah, and from a personal point of view, yeah, as a user, I want to see regular content from you, because I want you to stay front of mind for me. But always be really, really clear on your goals and keep coming back to them. So what is it I'm trying to achieve? Is what I'm doing going to help me to achieve it? And that can help you to be really strategic about where you spend your time. So if you really want to increase your e-commerce, concentrate on your conversion rate optimization and your SEO to get you there. Yeah, if you really want to build your social media presence, then concentrate on that. But be strategic about what it is that you're trying to achieve. You don't have to do everything all in one go. What you actually end up being is a bit of a busy fool because you're trying to do everything in every single place at all of the time, and you actually end up not really achieving any of those things. So be strategic about what's important to you. And that will change. Yeah, once you've got your e-commerce flowing a little bit, you might want to concentrate on something else. And that's fine. You can change and move those goals. Well, this is a bit of a take-home exercise for you, so I'm going to set you a little bit of homework. There's a couple of bits of these that I'll do for you. So I want you to think about what are your goals for the remainder of 2022. So we're just halfway through. So what are your goals, and your digital goals in particular for 2022? And how can digital marketing help you to achieve them? And be really clear about what it is that you want to achieve. And think about measurement. Always set aside time to be able to measure. And I'll give you a little bit more information shortly in terms of what you should be measuring and when you should be measuring it and why you should be measuring it as well. So we'll look at those in a little bit more detail. But this is about figuring out what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking to achieve, and then measuring the right things for that. Yes, you don't have to measure everything. You do need to measure what's important to you. And use those tools that are in place. So make sure that you've got Google Analytics installed on your website. Make sure that you're using Google Search Console to figure out which keywords are prime and optimum for them driving traffic through. Make sure that your social media, you're looking at your insights at least once a week, so you can look for any anomalies, look for the things that are happening, look at the things that are changing, look at the posts that have been really successful and the ones that you can repeat, or the ones that you decide, actually, that got absolutely no views. What do I need to do differently next time? Because it isn't just about the numbers. But I do need to come back to your audience, because it's really, really important to understand them. And one of the ways that you can do this is to wear your customers' shoes and to really dig deep into who is our absolute prime customer. If you try and sell to everybody, you will connect with nobody and you'll sell very little. If you connect with your actual audience, it will give you higher conversions. You may be connecting with fewer people, but they will convert more regularly and at a higher price point. So it's really important that you always, always think about your customer. It doesn't have to please everybody. It doesn't have to please the people who are not into what it is that you sell. That's okay, but you do need to appeal to your customers. So always think about it in terms of wearing your customers' shoes. And if for no other reason than if you want to invest in paid advertising, the better you know your audience, the cheaper they are to target. Yet you will be penalised for running very general ads across pretty much every single channel. If you're very specific, you're quite niche, that's okay. It's okay to be niche. If you're more specific and you know exactly who it is that you're interested in and exactly who it is that you want to target and you really understand them, then paid promotion becomes much more successful and becomes cheaper for you. What that means is that you can really then concentrate on building that particular audience profile. I would much rather have 1,000 followers who love everything I do and are really engaged with me and have lots of conversations and lots of likes and lots of shares, who respond to my email, who click through from my email list, than 10,000 people who don't give a monkeys about what I do. They're no value to you. It's important to think about the ones that are important to you. So you need to obviously be able to understand who that audience is. Now, this audience may change, and you may have more than one. But what I would say to you as a word of caution is try not to have more than 2 or 3 key audiences. And build a demographic around them. Give them a name. What is it that they do? What is it that they like? Where do they hang out on social media? What do they need from you, as well as everything else that's happening? So if, for example, you were a retailer for children's clothes, I would be telling you to have conversations about the mums about parenting. The hassles of half-term, events that are happening locally to you half-term, free events that they can attend across the UK. I would be telling you to have a conversation with them. I wouldn't just be saying to you, look how cute little Geraldine looks in this little cute frock. That was a bit of Yorkshire coming out then, apologies. I've got Yorkshire parents. That's where the frock came from. But think about who it is that you want to speak to. Is it fashion bloggers? Is it trend followers? Is it your existing customers? Because don't forget them. Don't underestimate them. They're the ones who will bring you more custom and who will recommend you and rave about you. And think about those demographics in terms of how old are they? Does it matter if they're male or female? Does it matter whereabouts they live? If you're bricks and mortar, that's going to have a bigger impact. And then always, always build in two-way communication so that you can really think about that conversation that you're having with them. Now, sometimes this can feel very one-way. So you put a post out on social media and there's tumbleweed. Yeah, crickets. Nobody responds to you. That's still part of a conversation because if they've seen it, they're still there, they're still conscious of that. Even if they like it and nobody comments, it means that they're part of that conversation. That conversation can be one way a little bit in terms of emails, but always encouraging them to do something. That call to action, reply, let me know, click through, get it now, whatever that is that works for you. But that two-way conversation is absolutely principal to your social media strategy. The real success in social media doesn't come from the media, it comes from the social part of it. The clue is there. It's about building that conversation and building that journey. And build your community, because this is one of the biggest things that has changed post-COVID, is that community and community management is becoming more and more important. Now, one of the reasons for this is because obviously all of a sudden we didn't have a community, so we turned online to be able to do it. One of the things that we get asked for more and more as an agency, and we work both retained, so people can pay us to do their social media, as well as trained. But one of the things that's coming up time and time again from both bigger and smaller businesses is community management. How do we manage our community? How do we respond? How do we moderate? How do we build that community into something? And I've got a couple of really good examples for you of this. The first one is motherhood. You may be aware of this, you may be familiar with it, I don't know. But this is, basically it was created by Gemma, who's a mum of two, and motherhood is part of the Strong Girls Club. So it's something that has been, as she's grown, and she's grown really successfully over the last few years. She's very personal about it. She shares her business, she shares her personal experiences. She's been on holiday for a week, she's had a moth infestation at home, she's had all these things that she talks about and that she shares. She also shares her problems as well. So Strong Girls Club was partly born out of PTSD that she suffered after a very traumatic birth. So she shares all of those things. But as you can see, the Strong Girls Club represents every woman's strength and sense of self-value. But her community is incredibly loyal and very supportive of both the brand and each other. And if you go onto her website, you may see this dress that I'm wearing, because this is a motherhood dress. I've also got her phone. I've got her phone pop thing. I've got a couple of hoodies, 3 or 4 T-shirts. I've got another dress that I've got my eye on. But she very much builds and has built that community around her beliefs, and what she's trying to achieve with the Strong Girls Club. Also, slightly more niche is Fairly Curved. So Fairly Curved's been featured in the press a little bit of late because of a grant that she received. But Fairly Curved is particularly for women who are bustier, so slightly curvier shaped. Again, she's really built this. This is a business that started in lockdown, so it started during the pandemic. She was made redundant, and it gave her the opportunity to do something that she'd dabbled with many years before. So she builds her presence every single day. She shows up, she turns up, she shows all kinds of different aspects of her business. She shares #OOTD, or outfit of the day. She shows you how to dress her products with other products, how to dress with other things that you might have in the wardrobe. And I'll be honest, it was a toss-up today whether I wore one of Gemma's items or one of Fairly Curved items, because I've got both in my wardrobe. You can see these kinds of things where she talks about how to style. She's wearing one of her skirts and her jacket in that. Click-throughs to be able to purchase. She has what she calls #Pink Parcel Day, because everything comes out in pink. She also writes a little note inside, so mine was to Amazing Amy. Thank you for your order. So nice little personal touches that she adds to it. But she really has built that business through Instagram stories. Again, she shares a little bit about who she is and what she's trying to achieve, where her story is, what her story is, family life, and all those things around it. But both of those have very much built that community around the products that they sell and what it is that they're trying to achieve as small businesses. So take-home exercise for you. Who are your target audience? And what conversations can you have with them? What conversations do they want to have with you? But obviously, one of the things that this all boils down to is great content. Now, as you can see from those 2 examples that I included, some of that is quite rough and ready. Yeah, it's not perfectly polished. It's short videos. It's, very often on videos, somebody shouts from downstairs and she has to go and deal with what she needs to do with as a mum, all kinds of different things that go wrong within those videos, and that's absolutely fine. But one of the things to think about with great content is that inevitably all roads will lead back to your website. If I meet you offline, I'll probably look to see what you're doing online. I'll look at your website to see what's happening there. And as part of that, all of those things, so social media, digital strategy, your email marketing, paid advertising, CRO or conversion rate optimization, SEO, search engine optimization, are all underwritten by those all-important analytics around the outside, which will tell you what's working for you, what isn't working for you, where you need to put or place more of your attention. But inevitably, all roads do lead back to your website. So your website is absolutely critical to get that right. But again, all of these things need to work together. So if you've got a really great website, but nobody ever finds it, it's not working for you. If you've got really great social media, but there's nowhere for them to go because your website really doesn't work and they're going through to a homepage that doesn't help them to discover what it is that you're talking about, it's not going to work for you. So it's really important that all of those things work together. Because your digital marketing should be based around these three things. You need to attract your audience, you need to engage with them, and you need to convert them. So if you're attracting and engaging with loads of them, but nobody's buying from you, it's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, you want them to be able to buy from you. So what's going to help them to become that customer and to actually make that decision to buy from you? It could be that you're attracting them, but you're not quite getting the messaging right in your engagement. So it's not quite speaking to them enough. So experiment with it, work with it, keep going back to it. And I know it can be incredibly frustrating. I've run lots of different accounts, lots of different campaigns where you're sat and you're literally praying to the gods, I have no idea why this hasn't worked, but it should have done. But if you dig deep enough, you can normally find out why. But you need all of these things to be happening. You are unlikely to convert, other than on the odd occasion, if you're not attracting and engaging the right people. Again, it inevitably comes down to the right audience. So do your research. Yeah, this is a really useful tool in terms of creating content. So this is answerthepublic.com. I don't know if anybody's used it before. It's a freemium site. So if you just go to answerthepublic.com, you can set up a free account. You get a certain number of free searches a day. After that, you have to wait until they reset, or you can buy their premium package. To be honest, you get enough searches for you to probably not have to invest in it. And they don't bombard you either, so it's quite a good tool from that point of view. But if you put in a couple of keywords, it'll then ping you back all of the questions that people are asking about it. So whether it's a particular type of fashion, so I've done this one as a search for festival fashion. So lots of the queries came up in terms of what's festival fashion 2022, what should I wear to a festival, how can I buy for a festival, lots of different things that were coming up. If festival fashion wearers are your audience, then happy days. But it can be a really useful tool to be able to establish what your customers are searching for. And they won't necessarily be searching for the stock reference that you've got listed on your website. They're going to be searching for other stuff around that. So that content needs to reflect that. So think about the competition, how many other people are using those search terms, what's their intention? So are they searching from an information point of view as because I'm looking to buy now? Very different messages that they need to receive, and always thinking about that customer journey and how the question and the content that they see from you needs to change as they go through that journey with you. And maximize your content. So your blog content, can be all, your blog content, for example, 5 top tips for festival fashion would be 5 separate posts on Instagram, a live on Facebook. Yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can absolutely maximize your content. It doesn't mean what you do on Facebook shouldn't automatically be fed to Instagram, but you can reuse it in a way that's suitable for Instagram if that's where your audience are hanging out. Email marketing, driving people through to your website, making sure that you've got landing pages that are working for you if that's what you need. Targeted ads, obviously part of the marketing mix is if you've got a budget to spending it in the right way. Podcasts. Yeah, we record our podcasts, so the video goes onto YouTube, we lift the audio for podcasts, and we then separate those out into posts that we can then direct people back to our podcast. Because unfortunately, gone are the days of simply freestyling. Even when it looks like it's off the cuff, it's normally planned. Yeah, so how many people have shared that they're here today and that they're looking for X, or that they're having a great time and that they can't wait till they start seeing stuff arrive, all the colours, the seasons, the inspirations? A couple, not many. That's the sort of thing that we like to see, because we like to see the person behind the brand, and we like to see what you're doing for us. So, but have a plan. So I would normally look at a diary and I'd be able to say, right, on that day, I'm going to post about being there. I might not know exactly what it is I'm going to post, but I know that I'm going to post something. Because if I had £1 for every time somebody said to me, oh, we forgot to do that, or, yeah, we thought about doing that, but then I thought she was doing it, she thought I was doing it, and nobody did it, I'd be a very rich person and I wouldn't be here. I'd be on my own desert island. Because I get that all the time, because there wasn't a plan in place. So have that plan in place. And always think about doing 2 or 3 things really well. Yeah, so do Facebook and Pinterest really well, rather than all of the platforms half-heartedly, because you don't have time to concentrate on them. And put a content calendar in place. So content calendars will stop that Friday afternoon feeling where you haven't posted all week and you know you need to. It'll help with that. But it also means that you can make sure that you plan ahead for holidays, quiet times, busy times. If you know you're going to be busy in the run-up to Christmas, or you know you're going to be busy at peak times, plan that content in, have it scheduled so that you don't have those gaps that the algorithms don't like. So another take-home exercise for you. What does your audience need or want from you? So it's not necessarily the same as the conversations that they're going to have with you, but what do they really need or want to know? And what channels are they on? So where are they hanging out? Where's the best place for you to have those conversations with them? And then just finally to measurement. You can't improve what you don't measure. If you don't know where you're at, how do you know if you're going to get better? How do you know if you're going to achieve any of your goals if you're not measuring where you are now? And some of the figures that you need to think about. So what's my profit margin? Yeah, it amazes me how many businesses, particularly small businesses, but also big businesses, don't know their profit margins. What's your cost per inquiry? What's your cost per sale? Yeah, so if somebody buys something from your website, how much does that cost you for them to be able to buy it? And what is your conversion rate? So how many people come to your website? How many people do what you want them to? How many people follow you? How many people go click through to your website if that's what you need them to do? And just an overview of some of the metrics that are important to you, in terms of the key areas. So social media for a start. Key metrics, reach, so the number of people who have seen your content, impressions, the number of times your content has been displayed. Impressions would normally be higher than reach. Followers, the number of people who follow your page. All important metrics, but a little bit vanity. Because if those followers aren't engaging with you and they're not buying from you, they're not worth anything. Yeah, what's more important is engagement rate and conversion rate. So what is your engagement rate? How many people who see your post normally engage with it, normally do something with it, like, comment, share, whatever that is. And bear in mind that on most platforms, particularly Facebook, that comment and share is the highest accolade you can be given. So the more people who comment and share, the better. What's your conversion rate? So how many people are actually doing what you want them to do? How many people are buying? How many people are buying from you when they come through to your website? And you might notice that that conversion rate changes when you look at your analytics. So you may get more people from Facebook, but a lower conversion rate. You may get less people from Pinterest, but a really high conversion rate, and they spend more money. I see that all the time. And audience insights. So who are your audience? Are they who you're expecting them to be? So when you look at your insights, are they actually the people you think are your followers? Website. Sessions, so the total number of visitors to your website, and users, the total number of unique visitors, so the first time they've been to you. Page views, total number of pages viewed. So if you know that to buy, you need to see 4 pages, and you're only getting to 2, something somewhere's not working for you. Pages per session. Average session duration, so how long does a user spend on the site? It's very often called dwell time, and it's a good reflection and indicator for Google Analytics. So if people come to your site and spend time on it, that's a good thing. What you don't want is people coming on and bouncing straight back off, because that's a negative impact in terms of your SEO, which is your bounce rate. So the number of people who land on your website, don't take any action, and simply bounce straight off. Do you know what your bounce rate is? Everybody should know that. Goal completions, how many times a key goal has occurred. So if you've got a website that's e-commerce, you've got Google Analytics in place, have you got a Google goal for when people have made a purchase? If you set up that as a goal, when people reach your thank you for your purchase page, you can then track and see where people are dropping off. So you can see which pages aren't working for you and which pages are causing you a problem. It's really simple to set up. It literally takes just a few minutes. You don't need to be techie to be able to do it. You don't need to add code or anything like that. As long as you've got e-commerce switched on Google Analytics, it'll do it for you. And email marketing. So open rate, how many people have opened your email, which is great. You've got loads of people opening it. but how many people are clicking through? If that's what you want them to do and you want to drive them back to your website, or you want them to follow you and you want them to join your Facebook group, or you want them to follow you, how many people are actually clicking through? What's your conversion rate? Obviously, a familiar metric. We've talked about it on the others. But how many people from your email list are actually buying? What's your email list size? So what's your recycle rate in terms of the number of drop-offs that you have and the number of new people that you get? And don't be disheartened. So if you send out an email list, it's the first time you've done it in a while, because you've decided you really do need to work that list, because it is yours. It's really valuable property, that list is. If you start getting loads of unsubscribes, it can be really demoralising. Because you think, oh my God, nobody likes me anymore. I can't send another email because I'll lose people off the list. Yeah, I've run a women's networking group, and we've got an email list of about 1,500 people, and we regularly lose people, and my business partner goes into meltdown every time. But that's okay. They're just not part of our audience anymore. We also grow more than we lose, so that's what's important. Yeah, for every 2 or 3 that we lose, we gain 5 or 6, so that's absolutely fine as long as our list is continuing to grow. And ROI, so are your emails converting your customers? Is it worth your investment? And that ROI is really important throughout, obviously. And as a take-home exercise for you, what figures do you need to know? So what figures, if you go back right to the very start, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? What's important to us? What does success look like? What do I need to measure? What's really important to me? And bear in mind that that may change. The other thing is to be really specific about what you want to measure. I just want to very quickly mention SMART goals here. If you say, I want to grow my Facebook following, and you get 1 follower in 2 years, well, hey, woo, you've achieved it. What you really want is to be more specific about that. So I want to grow my Facebook following by 10% in 3 months. Yeah, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, it's timely. SMART objectives are one of the first things I started training on more years ago than I even want to think about, I'll be honest. Life before kids, and my eldest is nearly 20, so that'll give you some idea. But it was something that is not relevant to digital marketing at the time, but is so relevant now. It's been around for about 20-ish years, 22, 23 years, but they're really, really important still now. So that's it in terms of the presentation. If you want to find out any more about what we do, look at some of our free groups. We've got our free Facebook group, which is our online retail marketing group. You feel free to join that on Facebook. We've also got free resources on our website. So if you go to socialb.co.uk, there's lots of things for you there. And we also have a special offer. So we do social media for small business courses online. Our next course starts on the 6th of September. Don't think it's me training it. I think it's one of my colleagues, although I haven't set my dates for September yet, so it could very well be. It might be me. If not, it'll be one of my colleagues. But that will help you with strategy, identifying your audience, building that audience, content, creating content, engagement, what does that look like, and lots of time-saving tips along the way as well. And I appreciate I'm pretty much to time, but I am more than happy to answer any questions. Alternatively, I am hanging around for a while before I take the very long, hot drive, but I do have aircon back to Solihull. So feel free to grab me afterwards if you want to talk to me privately. If you want a copy of the slides, please bring me your business cards. I'm more than happy to send you a copy of the slides, so you've got all of those available as well. And there's also a feedback there, so if you do want to provide any feedback for what you've heard and what you've found out about us today, then please feel free to do so. But thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your visit to Pure London. Questions? Yes?
At what stage would you suggest that we take on a marketing company to do this for us?
Okay.
As opposed to trying to do this as well as everything else?
Budget mainly, because obviously there is a cost involved. The other thing to bear in mind as well in terms of taking somebody on that you're working with is they'll still require you to create quite a bit of the content or to provide a steer for that. So whilst it is great, we do it for lots of businesses, whilst it is a great thing to have, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be involved in social media at all. So it will still eat into a little bit of your time. What it might be worth thinking about if budget is an issue, or if you're not quite there in terms of budget for working with a bigger agency, is to think about something like a virtual assistant. So lots of virtual assistants specialise in social media. So they will work with smaller businesses. They'll create content, they'll post, they'll schedule. You have to manage that, so you've still got that control over it. I would never hand it over entirely to anybody, to be honest with you. Even somebody like us, we would never say, you know, walk away and don't see us again. But yeah, maybe something like a VA as an interim, so that you've got that thing. But what I would say to you is if you are working with somebody else, be really clear on your strategy. go to them with a strategy, be really clear about what it is you want to achieve, and have that in mind, because I know lots of businesses who get a little bit bamboozled by algorithms and SEO and CRO and, oh, this is where you need to go and this is what you need to do, and it doesn't always sit right with you, which if that's the case, it won't sit with your audience, so it doesn't work. So just be really clear on that. Any other questions? Yes? Sorry, I'll come down. It's a long time since I've walked catwalk.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for this, first of all.
Okay.
The question is, many luxury brands, but also some other brands, they don't really invest and believe in digital media.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like they don't want that tool to become the important in their communication marketing life. However, the target audience is Gen Z that is connected and lives on social media. So how do you see and how do you feel we should balance this kind of communication from brands that doesn't want to and Gen Z that is looking?
It's a really difficult question to answer because fundamentally those brands are going to have to change to reflect their audience. It's
You feel like that is the direction,
Yeah.
even if they don't want to take it.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one because obviously you're very protective of your brand, you're very protective of what it is that you do. What I would say is that there are some ways to do it in terms of be very careful with the influencers that you reach out to, speak to those people who still will protect your brand but would also form a bridge almost between you and that audience. But it is a really difficult one because you have in your mind what you need it to look like and what it needs to be in terms of that luxury and all of those things, high price. And then to be able to translate that into something that appeals to that audience doesn't necessarily work, which is where I would use probably influencer marketing to bridge the gap between the two. So they still feel connected, but you still have a certain element of control over the level of what's created. Does that help? Any more questions? I don't know. I don't deal with pricing. Isn't that terrible? I honestly don't know. I just turn up and get told to do what I do when I do it. But if you email Molly, MOLLY, at socialb.co.uk, she will be more than happy to tell you. Yeah, she's one of our training coordinators, so she'll be more than happy to answer any questions you've got about it. It's done over 2-hour sessions, one every week for I think it's 4 or 5 weeks. I know that much, but yeah, I don't deal with pricing. I don't when I'm at home either, if it's to be honest with you. I don't want to look at how much my gas and electric cost me anymore. Any other questions? There's a microphone coming, sorry.
Thank you. Can I know your takes on TikTok Shop? I know it's combined the brand and also the sales together. So can I know your ideas about it? Thank you.
If it's the right audience, absolutely. So TikTok as a general tool, one of the things that we get asked a lot is, should we be on TikTok? Should we be using TikTok Shop and all those kinds of things? If your audience hang out on TikTok, then yes. If they don't, no. But equally, TikTok is great for reach, but not great for conversions. So bear that in mind in terms of it doesn't always convert well. Part of that is because it's not necessarily the right audience. So you get lots of reach, lots of people looking at it, but there's no intent there. They're there to be entertained. They're there to do those things, not necessarily to shop. If you can build a community that's ready to shop and ready to what you're interested in, then TikTok Shop can work really, really well. But it doesn't work well for a lot of brands because the conversion rates just aren't there. So I always, with TikTok and TikTok Shop, I always say approach with caution. Look at your data, look at your competitors, what are they doing, what are their audiences, what kinds of things are they converting on? You can't always see that information. And if not, speak to TikTok. TikTok are one of the easier ones to be able to get an account manager and somebody who will help you talk you through the process. Facebook, really difficult, but TikTok a little bit easier. That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. If you do have a question, please feel free to come and grab me while I'm being unmiked and all those things. It's fine.